The waitress took care of an abandoned baby, not knowing he was the lost son of a billionaire single dad who would change her life. The rain came down in steady sheets that night, casting blurry streaks against the windows of the roadside diner. Neon lights buzzed faintly above the flickering "open" sign, though there hadn't been a customer in over an hour. Inside, the place was quiet, save for the hum of the refrigerator and the soft clinking of dishes as Anna wiped down the counter, humming an old lullaby under her breath. She glanced at the clock. 10:47 p.m., just a little longer until closing. Thunder rolled low in the distance, and then a sound. A faint cry, not from the kitchen, not from the parking lot. It was high-pitched, muffled, and heart-wrenching. Anna froze, rag in hand, heart skipping a beat. She turned her head toward the door. There it was again. A baby. She hurried to the entrance, confusion furrowing her brow. As she pulled open the heavy glass door, a gust of wind and rain rushed in, chilling her to the bone. And then she saw her. A woman, soaked to the skin, face obscured by a hoodie, cradling a basket wrapped in blankets. She looked over her shoulder once, twice, before stepping forward and placing the basket gently at Anna's feet. "Wait," Anna began, instinctively stepping forward, but the woman raised a trembling hand. Her voice came out in a hurried whisper, panicked, desperate. "Please, protect him. Don't call the police. Someone's looking." Anna opened her mouth to ask 100 questions, but the woman had already turned and vanished into the storm. "Hey, wait!" Anna shouted, running a few steps out into the rain. Nothing, just darkness. She was gone, shivering, drenched, and stunned. Anna looked down. The basket was a soft-woven carrier, damp but carefully wrapped in thick blankets. From inside, the cry came again, soft, scared. Heart-pounding, Anna crouched down and pulled back the edge of the blanket. A baby. Wide eyes blinking up at her, red cheeks, damp from tears. Maybe 10, 12 months old at most. "Oh God," she breathed, reaching in with trembling hands to lift him. He was cold. So cold. She held him to her chest, rubbing his back, whispering soothing words she hadn't used in years. "It's okay, baby. I've got you. You're safe now." The baby calmed slightly, nestling against her soaked shirt. Back inside the diner, Anna grabbed a clean towel and wrapped him tightly, gently rocking him while her mind raced. What just happened? Who was that woman? Why would someone abandon a baby like this? She glanced down at the tiny wrist peeking from the towel. Something metallic glinted under the fluorescent light. A bracelet, small, silver, delicate. Etched into it, just one word: Noah. Anna stared at it, her breath catching. "Noah," she whispered. He looked up at her with big, trusting eyes, his thumb finding his mouth, still trembling faintly. For a long moment, Anna just sat there on the floor of the diner, holding the child against her chest, the world outside forgotten. Her pulse slowed, the baby's breathing steadied, and something shifted. She had no idea who Noah was, where he came from, or why someone wanted to keep him hidden. But somehow, in the middle of that rainy night, holding a stranger's child in her arms, Anna knew only one thing for sure: she wasn't going to let anything happen to him. The apartment was small, just a single room with peeling wallpaper, a creaky radiator, and a view of the brick wall next door. The floor creaked in certain corners, the plumbing whined when it was cold, and the air carried a faint trace of old books and stronger coffee. But to Anna, it was home, or at least the closest thing to it she'd ever known. She gently placed the baby, Noah, on her worn-out couch, carefully tucking pillows around him and wrapping him in the softest blanket she owned. The blanket had a fraying corner and a faded star pattern, but it was clean and warm. Noah didn't stir much. His tiny chest rose and fell with the slow rhythm of deep sleep, and one small hand still clung tightly to the edge of her shirt, even in slumber. Anna lowered herself to the floor beside him, her knees drawn up to her chest, arms wrapped tightly around them. She didn't even notice the cold linoleum beneath her. Her gaze stayed locked on the baby, studying every detail. His soft lashes, the curve of his mouth, the little twitch of his foot. He looked so fragile, so new, so trusting, and so very much like her once upon a time. Anna Hale had been left at the doorstep of St. Mary's Home for Children when she was just 3 months old, wrapped in a hospital blanket. No note, no name, just a baby with wide eyes and no place in the world. The nuns had named her Anna. The last name Hale came from the name of the street she was found on. She had no memory of her birth family, no photographs, no stories, just a file with sparse details and a history she never asked for but carried like invisible luggage. Growing up in the home had been survivable. Not cruel, exactly, but not loving either. There were always too many kids and never enough hands. Meals were served on schedule, clothes donated in black garbage bags, and birthdays celebrated with store-bought cupcakes and names written in icing by people who didn't really know the child behind them. Anna had learned early how to be invisible. She was never the loudest, never the cutest, never the one who made a scene or drew attention. She was the quiet girl with big eyes and careful hands, always watching, always waiting for something she couldn't name. She watched as kids around her were adopted, one by one. Smiling couples came in with hopes and left with little hands clasped in theirs. Anna stayed. Years passed, seasons changed, and she stayed. By the time she turned 18, she was used to it. She packed her things in a second-hand duffel bag and walked into the world, with a bus ticket, a minimum-wage job waiting at a diner, and the kind of independence that didn't feel like freedom. Just the absence of anyone to catch her if she fell. Since then, she'd lived paycheck to paycheck, hopping from one cheap rental to the next, always enough to survive, never enough to dream. She didn't go out, didn't date, didn't hope, because what would be the point? But now there was a baby sleeping on her couch, a baby with a name etched on a silver bracelet. A baby who had clung to her shirt like it was the only safe place in the world. A baby who hadn't asked to be left behind. Anna reached out and gently brushed a curl from his forehead. Her fingers trembled as they lingered there. Noah stirred slightly, but didn't wake. A quiet ache swelled in her chest, one she hadn't felt in years. It wasn't pain, exactly. It was something older, something softer, like grief wrapped in hope. She remembered lying awake as a child, listening to the others whisper about their real moms and maybe someday, maybe their moms would come back, maybe they'd be adopted, maybe they were just lost, not abandoned. Anna never believed in maybes. But Noah, he still had time, he still had hope, and for tonight, for now, he had her. She thought of the woman in the rain, the panic in her voice, the way she'd looked into Anna's eyes and trusted her with something so precious. "Please, protect him. Don't call the police. Someone's looking." Anna wasn't naive. She knew what the right thing to do should have been. Report the baby, call child services, let the system sort it out. But the system had raised her, and she knew exactly what it took from children and what it failed to give. Security, consistency, love. Noah didn't need paperwork. He needed a person. She rose quietly and walked to the kitchenette, where she had dropped her coat and bag earlier. She pulled out the bottle she'd rushed to buy at the 24-hour pharmacy and warmed it in a pot of water on the stove. Her hands moved instinctively now, as if she'd done this her whole life. She returned to the couch, lifting Noah gently into her arms. He stirred, then let out a soft sigh, his head resting against her chest. Anna rocked him slowly, whispering to him through the silence. "I don't know who you really are," she murmured, "or what happens next. But I know you're not alone." She held him tighter. "You have me, at least for now," and for the first time in her adult life, Anna didn't feel alone either. The morning sun streamed through the slats of Anna's blinds, casting golden lines across her cluttered kitchen. Dust motes floated lazily in the light as the hum of the refrigerator broke the silence. Anna stood barefoot at the counter, her hair a tangled mess from another sleepless night. In her hands, she gently shook a baby bottle filled with warm formula, waiting for the right temperature. She tapped it against the inside of her wrist, like she'd done half a dozen times in the past 2 days. On the floor beside her, nestled in a second-hand baby seat with a faded cartoon pattern. Noah babbled softly, rubbing his eyes with tiny fists. His legs kicked lazily as he watched the dust dance in the sunlight, completely content in his little corner of the world. The TV murmured in the background. Morning news. Anna wasn't paying attention, just letting the voices fill the quiet space. Her thoughts were still half asleep, focused only on the small world in front of her, the bottle, the baby, the soft routine of care. Then she heard it. In breaking news this morning, tech billionaire Benjamin Moore has issued a tearful public plea following the abduction of his 1-year-old son, Noah Moore. Her hand froze mid-shake, the bottle slipped in her grip and nearly fell. She caught it just in time, but her breath had stopped. Slowly, like her body already knew what her mind refused to believe, she turned to face the TV. A polished anchorwoman stared solemnly into the camera, her voice calm but urgent. Behind her, footage played, flashing police lights outside a sprawling mansion, security officers standing behind yellow tape, news vans crowding the gates. Authorities confirmed that Noah Moore was taken from his home sometime late last night, the anchor continued. There were no signs of forced entry, and early evidence points to a potential inside job. Mr. Moore has offered a $10 million reward for any information leading to the safe return of his son. Then the footage cut to a live clip. Benjamin Moore, standing behind a podium, his usually composed face marked by exhaustion and desperation. His suit jacket hung awkwardly off his shoulders, his eyes bloodshot. "If anyone out there has my son," he said, gripping the podium so tightly his knuckles turned white, "please, bring him home. He's all I have." Anna's breath hitched. She looked down, slowly, reluctantly, at the baby in the seat. Noah. Same age, same name, same soft brown hair and wide, curious eyes. "No," she whispered. She scooped him up, nearly trembling now, and peeled back the blanket. The silver bracelet gleamed on his wrist, Noah. The name was etched into the metal in soft, elegant script. Her fingers traced it as a chill spread through her body. She turned back to the screen. Now the anchor was showing an official photo. Baby Noah Moore in a pale blue onesie, sitting in someone's lap. The image was slightly blurry, but the resemblance was unmistakable. Same tiny dimple in the chin, same faint birthmark near the left ear, same boy. Her knees gave out and she sank onto the couch, clutching Noah to her chest like someone might try to take him from her any second. He let out a soft giggle, reaching for the chain around her neck. He didn't understand. He was safe, warm, fed, loved. But Anna? Anna was unraveling. What does this mean? She thought, back to the woman from the diner. The soaked clothes, the wild eyes, the rushed whisper. "Please, protect him. Don't call the police. Someone's looking." Anna had assumed she was the mother. But this changed everything. That woman wasn't a desperate parent abandoning her child. She was hiding him from something or someone, and now Anna was part of it. She should have gone to the police. That had been her instinct, but the woman's fear had been real, tangible. She'd begged, trusted her, and in Anna's own fear and confusion, she'd listened. Now that decision weighed heavy on her chest. She held Noah closer, his warm cheek against her collarbone, his breath soft and steady. Tears burned behind her eyes. "I didn't know," she whispered to him. "I didn't know who you were." Noah made a soft sound, his fingers curling around her shirt. On the screen, Benjamin Moore's voice broke through again. "He's all I have." Anna pressed her lips to the top of Noah's head. She wasn't ready to call the police. Not yet. She needed answers. She needed to understand what had really happened, and why this child, this precious boy, had been placed in her arms by a woman terrified enough to vanish into the night. Because deep down, Anna knew. This wasn't a simple case of kidnapping. It was a warning, a plea, a desperate attempt to keep a child safe, and for now, for this moment, Noah was safe with her. She would protect him, no matter what. The office was silent, save for the ticking of a minimalist wall clock and the faint hum of city traffic beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. From his penthouse suite in downtown Manhattan, Benjamin Moore stood alone, staring out over the skyline he once ruled with quiet dominance. At 35, he was a tech prodigy turned billionaire, founder of Moore Vantage, one of the most successful private investment firms in the country. He had built empires, negotiated billion-dollar deals before breakfast, and been hailed as one of the youngest self-made magnates of his generation. But none of that mattered now, not without Noah. He rubbed his face with both hands, exhaustion sinking deep into his bones. His tailored shirt hung looser these days. His jaw, once clean-shaven and sharp, was now shadowed by days of stubble. His eyes, once alert and calculating, were clouded with something far heavier: grief. Noah had been gone for 4 days. 4 days since Benjamin had stepped out for a 30-minute call with international investors, leaving his son in the care of the only nanny he trusted. 4 days since he'd returned to find the nursery empty. No signs of struggle, no broken windows, no ransom note. Just silence. The police had combed the house. The media had spun their theories. Private investigators were deployed across the country. And yet, nothing. Benjamin had never felt helpless before. He didn't believe in fate or God or miracles. He believed in data, logic, control. But this was chaos. This was pain that statistics couldn't touch. He turned from the window and walked to Noah's room, the only space in the penthouse untouched since that night. The walls were painted a gentle sky hue. Stuffed animals sat in a neat row along the crib. A soft mobile turned slowly above it, still spinning from the gust of air when Benjamin opened the door. He sank into the armchair in the corner, the one he used to rock Noah to sleep in, and stared at the empty crib. "Where are you, buddy?" he whispered. Images of his son filled his mind. Noah's sleepy smile, his first shaky steps, the way he giggled whenever Benjamin made ridiculous animal sounds. He had promised Noah he'd always protect him, and he had failed. His mind spiraled back to Celia, his wife. She had died from complications during childbirth. They'd only been married 2 years. Noah was all he had left of her. After Celia's death, Benjamin had buried himself in work, but each time he came home and saw Noah's face, it reminded him that love didn't have to die with loss. It could evolve. It could survive. He'd tried to be both mother and father, protector and provider. And now, he had nothing. The world outside thought he was composed, strategic, focused. But behind the scenes, Benjamin was unraveling. He no longer answered calls. His board hadn't seen him in days. He refused all interviews. He only did one thing: search. Every night he reviewed footage, scanned tips and spoke to detectives. He paid hackers to comb the dark web, hoping to find any trace. He offered a $10 million reward, no questions asked. Still nothing. And though he told the press he believed Noah was alive, some part of him, dark and heavy, was starting to question it. A soft knock interrupted the silence. "Mr. Moore?" His head of security, Daniel, stepped in. "The police, they still have no leads, but we did find something strange on the internal system." Benjamin stood immediately, tension coursing through him. "What is it?" "We found a gap. The house system logs every movement through the smart doors, right? There's a 15-minute blackout on the main floor camera feed, the exact time Noah disappeared." Benjamin's eyes narrowed. "Internal?" Daniel nodded grimly. "Looks like someone who knew the system. An inside job." Benjamin turned back toward the nursery, his jaw clenched. He had trusted too easily, again. "No more interviews," he said coldly. "No more press. From now on, everything stays quiet. We dig deeper, discreetly. Someone took my son, and I'm going to find them." "And when you do?" Daniel asked. Benjamin's voice dropped to a whisper. "I won't lose him again, because once was unbearable. Twice would destroy him." The days passed in a blur of anxiety and whispered lullabies. Anna barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the tear-streaked face of the billionaire on TV, the father of the baby sleeping peacefully in her arms. She began researching. Every article, every video, every news report about Benjamin Moore. She learned he was 35, a tech billionaire, widowed, known for his sharp mind and cold demeanor, until his son Noah was born. Then, everything changed. There were photos, too, of Benjamin holding Noah at charity events, of him pushing a stroller through Central Park under the watchful eye of security. And when Anna zoomed in on one of those pictures, her heart dropped. It was the same face, same round cheeks, same small scar above the eyebrow, same bracelet. Her Noah, his Noah. She knew she couldn't keep pretending this was temporary. She had to do something. When she heard about a charity gala Benjamin would be attending, an annual event for children's hospitals, she saw a sliver of possibility, not a confrontation, not a confession, just a chance. A chance to see if he would recognize his son. She borrowed a dress from a friend at the diner and arrived outside the venue just before the event ended. She didn't dare go inside. Instead, she stood near the back entrance with Noah in her arms, bundled in a soft coat and hat, heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The moment came faster than she was ready for. Benjamin stepped out, flanked by assistants and security. He looked exhausted but still powerful, his presence undeniable. He glanced around, distracted by his phone, and then his eyes landed on her, no, on Noah. He stopped mid-step. His face went white. Everything else faded. His security, the chatter, the noise. His whole body leaned forward, as if trying to bridge the distance between them with nothing but sheer will. "Noah," he whispered. It was barely audible, but Anna saw the way his knees buckled slightly, the way his hands trembled. Panic surged through her. She turned and walked away, fast. Too fast. "Ma'am, wait," someone called, but she didn't stop. She bolted down the alley, heart in her throat, baby in her arms, shame and fear twisting inside her like knives. She didn't see the man with the earpiece quietly jotting down her license plate number. The next afternoon, there was a knock on her door. Anna opened it to find two sharply dressed men flanking a third figure. Benjamin. His presence filled the hallway, taller than she expected, his eyes colder in person, but also undeniably broken. He stepped inside before she could even speak. The moment he saw the baby sleeping in the bassinet, something inside him cracked. He walked slowly to Noah, dropped to one knee and touched the baby's hand with reverence, like he was afraid the moment might vanish. Noah stirred, blinked, and smiled. It was like watching a man come back to life. "That's my son," Benjamin whispered. "That's him." Anna swallowed hard. Her body trembled. He stood slowly and turned to her. "How long have you had him?" 5 days, she whispered. Benjamin's voice tightened. "And you didn't think to call the police or the press? You just kept him?" I didn't know who he was at first," she stammered. "A woman left him at the diner where I work. She said someone was after him. She begged me not to call anyone." "Describe her." "Mid-30s, wet hair, looked terrified." "She was gone before I could ask anything." Benjamin exhaled, pacing now, his fists clenched and unclenched. "And when you saw the news?" "I recognized him. The bracelet. I knew it was him. But I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I thought if someone dangerous was looking for him, maybe he wasn't safe with the police either." "And you think he's safer with a waitress living paycheck to paycheck?" Anna flinched. "I didn't keep him to steal him," she said softly. "I kept him safe. I loved him." Benjamin froze at that. The room fell silent. He studied her now, not just as a stranger, but as someone who had been part of his son's life when he couldn't be. Noah gurgled happily from the bassinet. "You fed him?" Benjamin asked quietly. "Changed him? Held him?" "I stayed up every night," Anna said, eyes misting. "I didn't know who he was, but I knew he mattered." Benjamin's jaw worked silently. "I thought I lost him forever," he said, "and then I see him, held by a stranger, smiling like nothing ever happened." Tears prickled at his eyes. "I should hate you," he added, "but I don't." Anna didn't reply. Her heart was breaking, even though she knew this moment would come. Benjamin took a deep breath. "I need to take him home," he said, "but I want to know everything." "From the beginning," she nodded, and as he lifted Noah into his arms, his son clinging to his collar, resting his head against his father's chest, it wasn't rage or resentment that filled the room. It was something else entirely. the beginning of a fragile, uncertain trust. It didn't take long. Once Noah was safely home, sleeping in his own crib under the watchful eye of private security, Benjamin went to work, not as a grieving father, but as the calculated, relentless strategist he had always been. He needed to know why, who had taken his son, and why they had left him with a stranger. His tech team combed the diner's security footage, surrounding streets, facial recognition databases, and finally, they found her, Camila Torres. She had been Noah's live-in nanny for over a year. Background checks showed nothing unusual. She came with glowing references and a nurturing presence that had made Benjamin trust her more than he ever expected. But she'd vanished the night Noah did. Now, Benjamin knew why. Digging deeper, he uncovered something alarming. Camila's brother, Diego, had a criminal record. Gang activity, money laundering, and rumored ties to a trafficking ring that had recently resurfaced. It clicked into place like a lock snapping shut. Camila had discovered a plan, not an accidental abduction, not a ransom gone wrong, a second attempt. Someone, maybe even Diego, had planned to take Noah again, but this time not to protect him, to sell him. Benjamin's chest tightened as the implications settled in. Camila must have found out, and instead of trusting the police or Benjamin, she ran. But why Anna? That answer came from surveillance footage outside the diner. Camila, panicked and dripping wet, stood near the entrance, cradling Noah in the basket. She looked around frantically until she saw Anna through the window, cleaning tables with quiet focus. She paused. She watched. Anna smiled gently at a homeless man who came in to ask for coffee. She gave it to him for free. Camila made her choice. Someone kind, someone poor enough to be invisible, someone who would hide before they would hand the baby over to a system. She stepped into the rain and walked toward the light. Benjamin sat in silence after the footage ended. The pain in his chest was no longer just grief. It was gratitude. Camila had risked everything. She had chosen not to trust him, but she had trusted someone like Anna, and Anna had lived up to that trust. When his head of security asked what to do next, track Camila down, involve the police, Benjamin shook his head. No, he said softly. She saved him, and she had chosen exactly the right person. The house was quiet that evening, bathed in the golden warmth of low lamplight. Outside, the gardens stretched wide under the stars, and the distant hum of city life felt like another world. Inside the Moore estate, laughter had returned, soft, innocent, and filled with life. Noah had just fallen asleep after his evening bath. He clutched his favorite stuffed elephant in one hand, the other still reaching instinctively for Anna's fingers until he finally drifted off. Anna stood by the doorway of the nursery, watching his peaceful face for a moment before gently pulling the door closed. She turned to find Benjamin waiting in the hallway, 2 glasses of red wine in hand. "You deserve this," he said, offering one to her. "You've been amazing with him." Anna hesitated, then took it, her fingers brushing his. They walked to the sunroom, Benjamin's favorite space now. It overlooked the backyard, where fairy lights hung like fireflies in the trees. The room was all glass and silence, but somehow never felt cold when they were in it together. They sat across from each other on a soft cream sofa, the wine glasses resting on the table between them. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Benjamin broke the silence. "He reaches for you before anyone else," he said softly. "Even me." Anna's heart ached, not with guilt, but with something much deeper, something she hadn't dared name. "I was all he had," she whispered. Benjamin nodded, looking down at the wine in his hand. "I wasn't there. I should have been. I thought I'd built a fortress around him. I had the best security, the best plans. But I forgot the most important thing." "What's that?" she asked. He looked up, his gaze quiet but intense. "Love," he said simply. "Real, present, patient love." Anna's throat tightened. Benjamin continued, his voice low and vulnerable. "After Celia died, I shut down. I focused on work, numbers, control, things I could manage. But I wasn't really with him. Not the way I should have been. You were. I didn't do anything special, Anna said quickly, eyes stinging. Yes, you did, he replied. You stayed. You didn't ask for anything. You read to him. You made him laugh. You made him feel safe, and you made me feel something I thought I'd lost forever. She looked up, startled. I'm not just grateful that you saved my son, Benjamin said, voice rougher now. I'm grateful because you saved me too. The words hung between them like a fragile promise. Anna didn't know what to say, so she didn't say anything. Instead, she smiled, softly, tearfully, and let one tear slip down her cheek. It wasn't a love confession. It wasn't a fairy tale, but in that moment, it was something real, something new, a family just beginning. The sun hung low in the sky, painting the world in golden hues as it dipped behind the hills. The quiet field stretched wide under the soft light, dotted with wildflowers and the faint shimmer of dew still clinging to tall grass. In the center of it all was a checkered blanket, a picnic basket, and the sound of laughter. Small, bright, and infectious, Noah waddled through the grass, chasing a bubble that floated just out of reach, his chubby arms outstretched. His giggles rang through the air, full of joy, full of life. Behind him, Anna knelt, gently blowing another stream of bubbles into the wind. Her eyes sparkled as she watched him, her heart full in ways she never could have imagined just weeks before. Benjamin stood a few steps away, arms folded, a soft smile playing on his lips as he watched the two of them. The woman who had walked into his broken world and stayed, and the son he had nearly lost but now held tighter than ever. Noah turned suddenly and ran toward Anna, nearly tripping over his own feet before falling into her arms with a delighted squeal. "Mama!" he shouted, burying his face in her shoulder. Anna froze for a heartbeat. Then her eyes filled with tears and she hugged him tighter, unable to say a word. Benjamin walked over quietly, sitting beside them on the blanket. He took Anna's hand gently in his, fingers lacing with hers. She looked at him, eyes still wet. He smiled softly. Do you think a little abandoned baby could really bring two broken hearts together? Anna stared at Noah, who now dozed peacefully in her lap, then back at Benjamin. Her voice was quiet, sure. Noah wasn't abandoned, she said. Noah was found, and so was I. Benjamin nodded, his grip on her hand tightening ever so slightly. As the sky turned to shades of rose and amber, the three of them sat together, wrapped in warmth, in stillness, in something that felt like home. And as the last light of day kissed the horizon, Benjamin leaned over and pressed a gentle kiss to Anna's forehead. No words were spoken, but in that embrace, beneath the sky that held their second chance, a promise was made, unspoken, unbreakable. Whatever tomorrow brought, they would face it together. In a world where so many are lost, sometimes being found is the greatest miracle of all. This is not just a story about an abandoned child. It's about healing, about second chances, and how love, quiet, unexpected, and unplanned, can piece together what once was broken. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Soul-Stirring Stories, where we bring you true and unforgettable tales that remind us all of the beauty in kindness, resilience, and the power of love. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay hopeful, stay human, and keep your heart open.